What would you do if you worked alone with the dead and one of them seemed to be watching you? How would you react when security footage showed a corpse opening its eyes in the middle of the night? And what if you discovered the body wasn't dead at all, but something far worse than you could imagine? My name is Tyler Morrison, and I'm a mortuary assistant at Riverside Funeral Home in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm 26 years old, 2 years into this profession after getting my mortuary science degree from Pittsburgh. Most people find my job morbid or unsettling, but I've never had a problem with death. Bodies are just biology. Death is natural. There's nothing to fear from the dead. That's what I believed until November 14th. Riverside Funeral Home is a family-owned business that's been operating in Harrisburg for 70 years. It's in a quiet residential neighborhood, a large Victorian house converted into a facility with viewing rooms, a chapel, and a preparation room in the basement where I do most of my work. The owner, Robert Callahan, is in his 60s and handles most of the client interactions while I focus on the technical side: embalming, cosmetic preparation, dressing, and positioning the deceased for viewing. I usually work alone at night. The deceased are delivered in the evening after being released from the hospital or medical examiner, and I prepare them overnight so they're ready for viewing the next day. I'm comfortable with solitude, and the work is methodical and precise. I take pride in making the deceased look peaceful, helping families remember their loved ones at rest, rather than in the trauma of death. On November 14th, a body was delivered at 7 p.m. The deceased was identified as Michael Patterson, age 47, died of cardiac arrest at Harrisburg Hospital earlier that day. He'd been found unconscious in his home by a neighbor and never regained consciousness. Natural death, no signs of trauma, standard case. The body arrived in a transport bag on a gurney. I wheeled him down to the preparation room, transferred him to the embalming table, and unzipped the bag. Michael Patterson looked exactly as you'd expect for a man who died of sudden cardiac arrest. Pale, waxy skin, mouth slightly open, eyes closed. He was of average build, brown hair with some gray, unremarkable features. Nothing about him stood out. I began the standard preparation process. First, I verified the identification paperwork and checked for any medical devices or jewelry that needed to be removed. Everything was in order. I positioned him properly on the table, secured his jaw closed with a support, and set his features in a neutral expression. This is delicate work that requires understanding of facial anatomy and how tissues respond post-mortem. As I was washing the body and preparing for arterial injection, I had the distinct feeling I was being watched. It's not unusual to feel this way when working with the deceased, especially late at night in a quiet building. Your mind plays tricks. Shadows seem to move. You project consciousness onto the dead because it's uncomfortable to acknowledge their total absence. I ignored the feeling and continued working. I made the arterial and venous incisions, connected the embalming machine, and started the fluid circulation. The process takes about 2 hours, during which I periodically adjust pressure and monitor fluid distribution. Around 9 p.m., I took a break to grab coffee from the break room upstairs. When I came back down, I froze at the bottom of the stairs. Michael Patterson's expression had changed. His mouth, which I'd carefully set in a neutral position, was now curved slightly upward at the corners. A subtle smile. I stood there staring at the body, trying to rationalize what I was seeing. Post-mortem muscle relaxation could cause facial changes. The jaw support might have shifted. There were logical explanations. But I'd been doing this work for 2 years. I knew how to secure a jaw properly. And the change seemed too precise, too deliberate to be random muscle movement. I approached the table slowly. The smile was definitely there. Not a full grin, but an unmistakable upward curve of the lips. The kind of expression that suggested the person was amused by something. I adjusted his features again, carefully resetting his expression to neutral. I double-checked the jaw support, secured it more tightly. The smile was gone. I went back to work, but I couldn't shake the unease. I kept glancing at his face, expecting it to change again. It didn't. After 2 hours, the embalming was complete. I cleaned the incision sites, set his features one final time, and covered him with a sheet. The viewing was scheduled for 1 p.m. the next day. I'd come back in the morning to dress him, apply cosmetics, and position him in the casket. For now, my work was done. I left around 11:30 p.m., locking everything securely. The drive home took 15 minutes. I live in a small apartment across town alone since my girlfriend moved out 6 months ago. I ate a late dinner, watched some TV, and tried to forget about the strange smile. But I couldn't. I kept seeing that expression in my mind, the subtle curve of the lips, the almost playful quality to it. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I'd imagined the change or misremembered the original positioning. The next morning I arrived at the funeral home at 8 a.m. to finish preparing Michael Patterson. Robert was already there, handling paperwork for the day's services. I went straight to the preparation room. Michael Patterson was exactly as I'd left him, covered with a sheet, features set in the neutral expression I'd given him the night before. No smile. I felt foolish for having been so unsettled. I proceeded with the final preparations, dressing him in the suit his family had provided, applying cosmetic makeup to give him a natural appearance, styling his hair. Everything went smoothly. By 10 a.m. he was positioned in the casket in viewing room A, hands folded, looking peaceful and dignified. The viewing went well. About 30 people attended, mostly family and co-workers. Michael Patterson had been divorced, no children, worked as an accountant. His sister gave a brief eulogy. People said he looked good, that we'd done a nice job making him look at peace. Standard comments from grieving families. After the viewing ended at 3 p.m., I returned the casket to the preparation room for overnight storage. The funeral and burial were scheduled for the next morning at 10 a.m. Robert left at 5 p.m. and I stayed to clean and organize the facility. Around 7 p.m. I was in the viewing room tidying up when I heard a sound from the preparation room downstairs, a soft thump, like something had fallen. I went down to investigate. The preparation room was exactly as I'd left it. The casket containing Michael Patterson sat on the rolling stand near the far wall. Nothing appeared disturbed, but as I scanned the room I noticed something that made my breath catch. The casket lid, which I always close completely when not actively working, was open about 2 inches. I approached slowly. The interior of the casket was dim, but I could see the outline of the body inside. I lifted the lid fully and looked at Michael Patterson's face. He was smiling again, not subtly this time. A clear, unmistakable smile, almost a grin, and his eyes were open, just barely, the lids raised enough to show slivers of white, not looking at anything, just open, staring at nothing. I backed away from the casket, my heart racing. This wasn't muscle relaxation or post-mortem changes. Dead bodies don't open their eyes. Dead bodies don't smile like they're enjoying a private joke. I forced myself to approach again, examined his face closely. The eyes were definitely open, maybe a quarter of the way. The smile was pronounced, pulling at the cheeks, creating small creases around the mouth. I checked for any sign of life, put my hand near his mouth to feel for breath. Nothing. Checked his neck for a pulse, even though I knew it was pointless. Nothing. He was dead, had been dead for over 24 hours, had been embalmed, drained of blood, filled with formaldehyde. But his face had changed. Somehow, impossibly, his facial expression had shifted while the casket was closed and I was upstairs. I closed his eyes, reset his expression once more, and closed the casket lid firmly. I left the preparation room and went to the security office. Riverside had cameras installed throughout the facility 2 years ago, including one in the preparation room. If something had happened down there, it would be recorded. I pulled up the footage from the past hour, watched myself cleaning upstairs while the preparation room remained empty and still. The casket sat undisturbed on its stand. Nothing moved, nothing changed. Then, at 6:47 p.m., something appeared on the recording that made my skin crawl. The casket lid moved, just slightly, rising an inch or two. Not opening all the way, just lifting as if something inside had pushed against it. A moment later, it settled back down, but not quite closed. open about 2 inches, exactly as I'd found it. The camera angle didn't show inside the casket, so I couldn't see what caused the movement. But something inside had pushed on the lid. Something had moved. I sat in the security office for 10 minutes trying to process what I'd seen. Bodies don't move. Not like that. Not pushing against casket lids. There had to be another explanation. Gas buildup. That was possible. Post-mortem gases can accumulate and cause movement. But I'd embalmed the body properly. Gases shouldn't be an issue. And even if they were, they wouldn't cause the precise facial changes I was seeing. I called Robert, explained what was happening, trying to keep my voice calm and professional. "Tyler, you sound stressed. Have you been getting enough sleep?" "I'm not imagining this. The body's facial expression keeps changing. And the casket lid moved on camera. Bodies do strange things. You know that. Post-mortem processes can cause movement, changes in appearance. It's not pleasant, but it's natural." "This isn't natural. I need you to come look at the security footage." He sighed. "It's after 7 p.m. I'm home with my family. If you're seriously concerned about the body's condition, you can refrigerate it overnight. But I think you're overthinking this. The funeral is tomorrow morning. The family will be here at 9:30. Then everything will be fine. Make sure the body is presentable, close the casket, and go home. You're working yourself up over nothing." After he hung up, I sat in the security office debating what to do. I could refrigerate the body, but that would mean more handling, more exposure to whatever was wrong with it. Or I could follow Robert's advice. Close the casket, lock up, and leave. I decided on a compromise. I'd close the casket and lock it. That way, if something else happened, it would be contained. And I'd set up my phone to record the preparation room overnight. If the body moved again, I'd have proof. I went back downstairs, approached the casket slowly, lifted the lid. Michael Patterson's eyes were wide open now. Not just slits, but fully open, pupils visible, irises reflecting the overhead light. His mouth was open too, the jaw slack, the previous smile replaced by an expression of surprise or alarm. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. This was beyond any natural post-mortem change. This was something else entirely. I forced myself forward and examined him again. Still no pulse, no breath. Body temperature was cool, consistent with being dead for over a day. But his eyes were open and seemed focused, looking up at the ceiling. I grabbed a flashlight and shined it directly into his eyes. The pupils didn't constrict. No response. Just the glassy stare of death. But as I moved the light away, I could swear his eyes shifted. Tracked the movement of the flashlight. Followed it. "No," I said aloud. "You're dead. This isn't happening." I closed his eyes, secured them with eye caps this time, adhesive pads that hold the lids shut. I repositioned his jaw. Then I closed the casket and locked it with the security latch we use for transport. Whatever was happening, it was staying in that casket until morning. I set up my phone on a shelf across the room, positioning it to record the casket. Pressed record. Then I left the preparation room, locked the door, and went upstairs. I should have left the building. Should have gone home, called in sick the next day, let Robert deal with this. But some combination of professional pride and morbid curiosity kept me there. I sat in the security office watching the live camera feed from the preparation room. For 2 hours, nothing happened. The casket remained closed. The room stayed still. Then at 10:23 p.m., I saw something that made me question my sanity. The casket lid opened, from the inside, not violently, but smoothly, deliberately. It rose about 6 inches and stopped. A hand appeared, pale, waxy, unmistakably dead-looking. Michael Patterson's hand. It gripped the edge of the casket lid. I watched, frozen, as the hand pulled upward. The lid opened further. Another hand appeared, gripping the other side. Then slowly, impossibly, Michael Patterson sat up. His movements were stiff, unnatural. Not like someone waking from sleep, but like something forcing a dead body to move. He turned his head from side to side, looking around the room. His eyes were open, that glassy dead stare, but they seemed to be searching for something. Then his head stopped moving and his face turned toward the camera. Toward me, watching from upstairs. And he smiled. That same smile I'd seen before, but bigger now, wider, showing teeth. He raised one hand and waved, a slow, deliberate wave. "Hello? I see you watching me." I ran. Didn't think, just ran. Out of the security office, through the funeral home, out the front door to my car. I sat in the driver's seat with the doors locked, breathing hard, trying to convince myself I hadn't just seen what I'd seen. Dead bodies don't sit up. Dead bodies don't wave at cameras. This wasn't possible, unless he wasn't dead. The thought hit me like ice water. What if Michael Patterson wasn't actually dead? What if he'd been misdiagnosed at the hospital? It's rare, but it happens. People in deep comas or catatonic states mistaken for corpses. But I'd embalmed him, drained his blood and replaced it with formaldehyde. If he'd been alive when I started that process, he absolutely wasn't alive now. The embalming process would have killed him within minutes, unless I hadn't actually embalmed him. Unless somehow I'd embalmed a different body, or the body had been switched, or... None of this made sense. I pulled out my phone and called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I'm at Riverside Funeral Home on Oak Street. There's a body here that's moving. I don't know what I think, but something's very wrong. Sir, are you saying there's an injured person at your location? No, yes. I don't know. There's a body that was pronounced dead yesterday, but it just sat up in the casket. There was a pause. Sir, have you been drinking or using any substances? No. I'm completely sober. I'm a mortuary assistant. I was working late and the body moved. I need police here. We'll send a unit to check on you. Stay on the line. I waited in my car, on the phone with the dispatcher, watching the front entrance of the funeral home. After 10 minutes, a police cruiser arrived. 2 officers got out and approached my vehicle. I explained the situation as calmly as I could, showed them the security footage on my phone from earlier. They watched Michael Patterson sit up and wave at the camera. That's definitely unusual, Officer Martinez said. Let's go inside and check it out. The 3 of us entered the funeral home. I led them downstairs to the preparation room, unlocked the door, and turned on the lights. The casket was closed and locked, exactly as I'd left it. It was open when I left, I said. He sat up. I saw it on the camera. Officer Martinez approached the casket. We're going to open this. Is that okay? Yes. Please. He unlocked the latch and lifted the lid. Michael Patterson lay inside, positioned exactly as I'd left him that afternoon. Eyes closed, hands folded, expression neutral and peaceful. He looked completely undisturbed. He's dead, right? Martinez asked. I checked again. No pulse, no breath. Cold skin. He's been dead for over 30 hours. And you saw him move? I saw him sit up on camera. I saw him wave at me. The officers exchanged glances. The second officer, whose name tag read Wilson, said quietly, "Maybe we should get you checked out. When was the last time you ate? Are you feeling okay?" "I'm not hallucinating. I recorded it. It's on the security system." We went back upstairs to review the footage. I pulled up the segment from 10:23 p.m., pressed play. The footage showed the casket sitting undisturbed. No movement, no lid opening, no body sitting up. Just a still image of an empty preparation room with a closed casket. But I pulled up my phone recording, the video I'd made from across the room. Found the timestamp. The phone showed the same thing. Closed casket. No movement. "I saw it," I said weakly. "I swear I saw it." Officer Martinez put a hand on my shoulder. "Look, this is a stressful job. Working with the dead alone at night, it can mess with your head. Have you been under any unusual stress lately?" I wanted to argue, to insist I hadn't imagined it. But what could I say? The cameras showed nothing. My own recording showed nothing. The body lay peacefully in its casket, exactly as it should. "Maybe you're right," I finally said. "Maybe I need some sleep." The officers stayed while I closed everything up. They followed me out to my car, made sure I was okay to drive home. I thanked them and left, feeling humiliated and confused. At home, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I'd seen, or thought I'd seen: the hand gripping the casket edge, the body sitting up, the wave, the smile. Around 3 a.m., my phone rang. Robert Callahan. "Tyler, I just got an alert from our security system. The preparation room door is showing as open. Did you forget to lock it?" "No, I locked everything. The police were there with me. We secured the building." "Well, something triggered the sensor. I'm heading over there now. Can you meet me?" I didn't want to go back. But this was my job, my responsibility. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I arrived, Robert was already inside. His face was pale, expression shaken. "Tyler, you need to see this." I followed him down to the preparation room. The door was open just as the sensor had indicated. The lights were on, and the casket was open. Empty. Michael Patterson's body was gone. We searched the entire facility, checked every room, every closet, every possible hiding place. No body. The clothes he'd been wearing were still in the casket, neatly folded, but the body itself had vanished. "How is this possible?" Robert asked. "Who would steal a body?" I thought about telling him what I'd seen earlier. The body moving, sitting up, waving. But after the police had found nothing on the cameras, I didn't trust my own perception. We called the police again. They came, took statements, reviewed the security footage. The cameras showed nothing unusual. No one entering or leaving the building. No one in the preparation room. The footage simply stopped at 2:47 a.m., then resumed at 2:49 a.m., showing an empty, open casket. 2 minutes of missing footage, during which Michael Patterson's body had disappeared. The investigation continued for days. Police questioned the family, checked for signs of break-in, reviewed all security footage. But they found nothing. The body had simply vanished. The family was devastated. The funeral was postponed indefinitely. Robert considered closing the funeral home, worried about the scandal and his reputation. And I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd seen exactly what happened. That Michael Patterson had sat up, smiled, and walked away. 2 weeks later, I was contacted by a detective from the medical examiner's office. She'd been reviewing Michael Patterson's death certificate and hospital records. "Mr. Morrison, I need to ask you something confidential. When you embalmed Michael Patterson, did you notice anything unusual about the body? Like what? Any signs that he might not have been dead when he arrived at the funeral home?" My blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that after reviewing his medical records more carefully, I found some irregularities. The hospital was overcrowded that day. There was confusion about which bodies to send where, and Michael Patterson's cardiac arrest occurred in a very specific way that can sometimes result in a state called catalepsy, a deep unconsciousness that can mimic death. Are you telling me he wasn't dead? I'm telling you he might not have been dead when he was pronounced. And if he wasn't dead, the embalming process you performed..." She trailed off. I felt sick. If Michael Patterson had been alive in some deep catatonic state, and I'd begun the embalming process, I would have killed him, slowly, painfully, while he was paralyzed and unable to scream or move. "But the body is gone," I said. "If I killed him during embalming, where's the body? That's what doesn't make sense. Unless..." She paused. "Unless the catalepsy was so deep that even the embalming didn't fully kill him. There are medical cases of people surviving incredible trauma. If his brain activity was minimal enough, if his body went into some kind of suspended state, maybe he survived just long enough to regain some motor function, just long enough to push open a casket lid and crawl out. And then what? Where would he go? I don't know. If he was in that state, his cognitive function would be severely impaired. He'd be operating on pure instinct, seeking warmth, seeking shelter. He could have wandered outside and collapsed somewhere. They searched the area around the funeral home, found nothing. Michael Patterson's body was never recovered. But 3 months later, a homeless man was found dead in an abandoned building 6 blocks from Riverside Funeral Home. He'd apparently been living there for weeks. The body was badly decomposed, but dental records confirmed his identity. Michael Patterson, the man who'd woken up in a casket. The medical examiner concluded he'd died of exposure and malnutrition. His brain had been severely damaged by the extended period of oxygen deprivation during his cardiac arrest, then further damaged by the beginning stages of the embalming process. He'd somehow survived, escaped, but had been in no condition to seek help or even identify himself. The case was closed, listed as a tragic series of medical errors and miscommunications. But I know the truth. Michael Patterson was alive when I embalmed him, conscious possibly, trapped in his own body while I drained his blood and filled him with chemicals. And somehow, driven by survival instinct or sheer will, he'd fought through it, pushed open that casket lid, smiled at the camera, a desperate attempt at communication, and I'd run away, terrified, leaving him alone to stumble out into the night where he died slowly over the following weeks. I quit my job at Riverside. I can't work with the dead anymore. Can't trust that they're truly dead. Can't stop wondering if others have been aware, trapped, watching me work on them. The smile haunts me. That expression on Michael Patterson's face that I thought was impossible, that I thought was my imagination. It wasn't a smile of death or a trick of post-mortem changes. It was a man barely alive trying to show me he was still there, still conscious, still desperate for help, and I failed him. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below. Would you have stayed to investigate, or would you have run like I did? Have you ever seen something that others insisted wasn't there? Share your thoughts. And remember, sometimes the dead aren't as dead as they appear. Sometimes they're trapped, aware, waiting for someone to notice. Sleep well.